Hello and welcome to Elemental Hardware Enrichment. My name is Aiden, and today we're going to be building a wooden desk lamp. Before we get started with building, let's go ahead and talk about the supplies that we're going to need for this project. So for this project, we're going to need a bottle of glue, a damp rag for any glue cleanup, some sandpaper, some safety glasses, let's go ahead and put those on now, and a plastic tray to keep track of all of our hardware parts. Now that we've introduced all of our supplies, let's go ahead and talk about the tools that we're going to need for this project. So I've got my toolkit right here. I'm going to go ahead and open it up and take out the tools that I need. The first thing I'm going to be taking out is going to be my hammer. I'm also going to need my Phillips head screwdriver. That's the one with the cross tip. Along with that, I'm going to need my flathead screwdriver, and I'm going to need my screwdriver handle. To go with my screwdriver handle, I'm going to need two bits. The first bit I'm going to need is going to be my adapter bit. It's going to be in this little red bit holder in the spot marked AD for adapter. So go ahead and pull that out, and you'll know it's the right bit because one side will be square with a little BB sticking out, and the other side will be a hexagon. Once you've got your adapter bit, you're going to be taking out one more bit, and that's going to be your socket bit. So we're going to pick up our little socket holder, and we're going to be looking for the third largest bit in here. That's going to be our 7/16 bit. So let's go ahead and take it out and put it with the rest of our tools. The last tool that we're going to need for this project is going to be our needle nose pliers. Now that we have all of our tools, let's go ahead and close up our toolkit and we'll move on to the next step. Okay, so we have our supplies, we have our tools. The next step is going to be to open up our box and talk about the different pieces we're going to find inside. So to open up my box, I'm going to be using my flathead screwdriver, and I'm just going to be running the screwdriver tip over the tape where the two box flaps meet to split it open. Once I've done that, I can grab the corners and pry the box open. Now that I've got the box open, let's go ahead and talk about what we're going to find inside. The first thing we're going to be taking out is going to be our packing paper. When you take it out, be sure to check inside the packing paper just in case any small parts got mixed up in there. All right, we've got our packing paper out of the way, so let's go ahead and talk about what else we're going to find inside our box. The first thing we're going to take out is going to be our light bulb. The light bulb is going to be wrapped up in foam, so let's just leave it in there for now because we're going to be working with it a little bit later. Next, we're going to be taking out our bag of hardware. Again, we're not going to be working with this so a little bit later, so let's just put it off to the side and we'll talk about the hardware later on. Next, let's talk about the wood pieces we're going to find inside our box. The first thing we're going to be taking out is this small rectangular piece, and this is going to be our spacer. Next, we're going to be taking out two rounded over rectangle pieces, and they look like this. They each have one flat edge and one rounded edge, a through hole on the rounded edge, and in the center, they each have two pre-drilled holes. And there are two of them. These are our base pieces. Next, we're going to be taking out this long rounded over rectangle piece. It has a through hole on either end, and on one edge, there should be a pre-drilled hole on either side. This is going to be our long upright. Next, we're going to be taking out a smaller rectangle piece. This one has no through holes, but it has two pre-drilled holes here close to the center, and also has the Elemental Hardware logo here on the other side. This is going to be our front base piece. The next piece we're going to be taking out is another smaller rounded over rectangle. This one has a through hole on either side, and on one edge, there's also a pre-drilled hole on either side. This is going to be our short upright. The last piece we're going to be taking out is a similar size to the other piece. It's also a rounded over rectangle. This one only has one through hole, and on the edge, on the opposite side, there's one pre-drilled hole. This is going to be our arm. Now that we've got all of our pieces out of our box, let's get it out of our way and we can get started. So the first step of this project is going to be to sand down all our pieces so we can get them prepped for paint. So I'm going to go ahead and pull these over. If you haven't already, I'm going to show you how to fold your sandpaper. What you're going to do is hold the sandpaper so that the soft side is facing up. You're going to fold one side to the middle, then fold the other side of the middle to form a tri-fold. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and sand down all of your pieces to get them ready to paint. Let's go ahead and do that now. Alright, I've got all of my pieces sanded, but that last step did create kind of a lot of dust. So let's go ahead and pick up our damp rag and we'll wipe down all of our pieces and our work surface. Alright, we've got all our pieces sanded and cleaned up, so the next step is to get them all painted so we can get ready to build. I'm going to go ahead and get these pieces painted and I'll be right back. Okay, I have all of my pieces painted, so now we can get started building. But before we get started building, I want to introduce all of the hardware that we're going to be using for this project. So I'll go ahead and move these off to the side, and we're going to open up our hardware bag and talk about the things we're going to find inside. So the first thing we're going to be taking out is going to be this piece here, and this is going to be the socket for our lamp. It has two pieces here. There's the socket piece and then the socket base. So let's put them together and place them off to the side for now. The next thing we're going to be taking out is going to be our red hardware bag. Inside this hardware bag, we have some hex bolts and some wing nuts. The next thing we're going to take out is going to be the plug for our lamp. We also have this black piece inside the bag. This also has two parts, and this is called the strain relief. This is the strain relief base, and this is the strain relief. We'll go ahead and put them back together and place them in our tray for now. Next, we're going to be taking out this piece, and this is going to be our lamp wire. Finally, we have a few more bags of hardware inside the bag. The first thing we're going to take out is going to be our green dot bag. Inside this bag, we have our washers and our lock washers. Next, we have a blue dot bag. Inside this bag, we have some finish nails. Inside the orange dot bag, you'll find your screw hooks. And the last thing we're going to take out is going to be our yellow dot bag with a few more finish nails. Alright, we've got all of our hardware introduced, so now we can get this bag out of our way and we can get started with the building process. The first step is going to be to assemble the base for our lamp. Okay, now it's time to start assembling the base for our desk lamp. So what we're going to need for this step is going to be our two base pieces and our long upright. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be setting these base pieces onto the desk so that the rounded edge is facing towards us. You also want to make sure that the through hole in the base piece is oriented from right to left. So we're going to place one base piece. Next, we're going to pick up our upright. Now with the upright, it has a through hole on either side. So it doesn't matter which way it's going, but you need to make sure that the through hole is facing left to right and that the pre-drilled holes in the edge are facing up towards the ceiling. Once you've double checked that it's oriented correctly, go ahead and place it right next to your first base piece. Next, we're going to pick up our remaining base piece. We're going to flip it around so that the rounded edge is facing towards us and double check that the through holes are facing from right to left. Once we've done that, we can place it right next to our other pieces. Now we're going to go ahead and grab one of our hardware bags. You're going to want to find your red hardware bag with your hex bolts and your wing nuts. You're going to go ahead and open up that bag and dump it into your tray. For this step, we're going to need the longest hex bolt. That's going to be our 2 3/4 inch hex bolt. We're also going to need another hardware bag. So you're going to find your green hardware bag. Remember, this is the one with your washers and your lock washers. So go ahead and open up the green hardware bag and dump it into your tray. The first step of this process is going to be to place a lock washer onto your hex bolt. So go ahead and locate a lock washer. They look like this. And we're going to go ahead and place the lock washer right onto the hex bolt just like that. Once you have your lock washer on there, go ahead and pick up a washer and place it right over the top of that lock washer. Once you have your hex bolt ready to go with your lock washer and your washer, you're going to be sticking the hex bolt through the hole on the far side of your first base piece. So go ahead and place it over the hole. If you're having trouble getting it through because of the paint, you may need to use a tool to get it through. So what we're going to do is go ahead and construct our screwdriver handle. I'm going to pick up the handle and I'm going to locate my adapter bit. Now remember, like I said before, the adapter bit has one side that's a hexagon and one side that's a square. The hexagon side is going to go into the hole on our screwdriver handle. Next, we're going to pick up our 7/16 socket and we're going to find the side with the little square opening. We're going to be placing that side over the top of our adapter bit. And now our screwdriver handle is ready to go, so we can go ahead and pick it up and we can screw this hex bolt into our base piece. Once you've got it on there, you're going to go ahead and pick up another washer and place it onto the hex bolt. Once you've got the washer on there, you're going to place the hex bolt through the hole in your long upright. Again, if you need some help, you can use your tool. I'm going to hold these pieces together with my offhand and screw the hex bolt using my screwdriver handle so that the two pieces fit together. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and place another washer on top. Now I can go ahead and place the hex bolt through my remaining base piece. Again, I'm going to pick up my screwdriver handle and start screwing all of my pieces together. Once you've got them all together with the hex bolt, you can go ahead and place one more washer. And then we're going to place a wing nut to hold all the pieces together. So go ahead and place the wing nut over the end of the hex bolt, and you're going to screw it on finger tight. Once you've got it as tight as you can with your fingers, you're going to pinch the wing nut side with your offhand, and you're going to use your screwdriver handle to tighten that down the rest of the way. Once you've got it nice and tight, you can go ahead and check that it's tight enough by picking up the upright. If it stands up just like this, it should be good to go. So now we can move on to the next step. The next step is going to be to attach the spacer into our lamp base. So let's go ahead and pick up our spacer, and we're going to be sliding it between these two base pieces. So I'm going to kind of lift one of them up and slide the spacer into place, and then replace the base piece back to its normal position. Once you've got it in between the two pieces, you're going to line it up so that it sits right between these two pre-drilled holes in the edge of your base pieces. Once you've got it all lined up correctly, you're going to lay this down on its side, and you're going to slide it over to the edge of the desk so that the hex bolt hangs over the edge of the desk and the pieces lie flat. Before we do anything else, we're going to make sure to line our pieces up so that they're perfectly flush. One way to double check that they're flush is to pick this up and make sure that it stands flat. As long as it stands flat, you should be good to go. So we're going to lay it back down and make sure that our spacer is positioned correctly. Once you've got the spacer positioned correctly, you're going to go ahead and open up your blue hardware bag. Inside this blue hardware bag are some finish nails. So let's go ahead and open up the bag and remove the finish nails. We're going to be placing one finish nail into each of the pre-drilled holes that are facing up on our base piece. Once you've got your nails in there, go ahead and double check that your spacer hasn't moved around and is still oriented correctly. Once you've got it oriented correctly, slide the piece over so that it lays flat, and then we're going to hold all of the pieces together and we're going to hammer off our first nail. Once you've hammered in your first nail, double check that your pieces haven't moved, adjust them if necessary, and you can go ahead and hammer off your second nail. Once you've got one side done, you're going to go ahead and flip it over. Double check that your pieces are still lined up by laying it down flat. And then you're going to lay it back on its side with the wing nut hanging over the edge so that it lays flat. Once you've got it laid down flat, you're going to place your remaining finish nails into the 2 holes on this base piece. Now for me, it looks like the paint kind of covered up my holes, so I may need to use my hammer to get them placed. I'm just going to hold it over where the hole is and give it a light tap to set my nail. All right, once I've got my nail set, I'm going to do one last check to make sure that I'm flush and everything's lined up correctly. Lay it back down on its side, hold my pieces together, and then I can go ahead and hammer off my first nail. Once you've got the first one done, go ahead and hammer in the second one. When you're finished, you can go ahead and stand the piece up and it should look just like that. So the next step is going to be to attach the front base piece to finish the base for our lamp. Okay, now we're ready to attach the base front piece to finish the base for our lamp. So our base front piece is going to be this piece. Remember, it's this rounded over rectangle with no through holes. It has the Elemental Hardware logo here in the center and 2 pre-drilled holes right over that logo. This piece is going to fit right on the front of our base just like that. So what we're going to do to start is we're going to lay our base down just like this so that the flat edges of our base pieces are facing the ceiling. We're then going to go ahead and open up our glue and place our red cap into our tray so that we don't lose it. We're then going to place a bead of glue onto each of these up-facing edges. Once you've got the glue on there, go ahead and spread it out evenly with your finger. Once you've got the glue spread, go ahead and wipe your finger clean using your damp rag. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to pick up the front base piece and lay it over the top of that glued edge so that the pre-drilled holes in the front base piece line up with the glued edges of our base pieces. Once you've got them lined up, go ahead and make sure that this piece is flush with your base pieces. Next, we're going to open up our yellow hardware bag. Inside this bag, we have some more finished nails that we're going to use to attach this piece. So let's go ahead and open up that bag and dump it into our tray. Now we're going to go ahead and place one of these finish nails into each of the pre-drilled holes on the front base piece. Once we've got those nails in there, we can go ahead and make sure that our pieces are lined up flush. Once we're sure that our pieces are flush, we're going to hold the pieces together and hammer off our first nail. Once you've got your first nail in there, go ahead and double check that your pieces haven't moved and that they're still flush and make any necessary adjustments. Once that's done, you can flip this around, hold the pieces together again, and hammer off your second nail. When you're finished, make sure to wipe up any excess glue. If you have any glue that's stuck between these two pieces, you can go ahead and use your flathead screwdriver to pull that glue out. And don't forget to wipe off your screwdriver. All right, we've got the base of our lamp completed, so now we can go ahead and get ready to attach the remaining upright and the arm. Okay, so we're going to start by attaching our short upright to the long upright. Remember, the short upright is this rounded over rectangle piece with 2 through holes on either side, and on the edge it has a pre-drilled hole on either side. So what we're going to need to do is find one of our remaining hex bolts. These are going to be our smaller hex bolts, and these are 2 inches long. To start, we're going to place a lock washer onto our hex bolt. So go ahead and find a lock washer and just place it right over the top of that hex bolt. Once you've done that, you're going to place a washer on top of that. So pick up a washer and go ahead and place it on. Now we're ready to place our hex bolt onto our long upright. So I like to make sure that all my hex bolts are going through from the same side, so at the end my lamp will look nice and symmetrical. So I'm going to start from this end and I'm going to place that hex bolt right through the hole on my long upright. I'm then going to get ready to place my short upright onto that hex bolt. But before I can do that, I need another washer. So let's pick up a washer and go ahead and place it onto that hex bolt. Now we're ready to place our short upright. Now remember, the short upright has these pre-drilled holes in the edge. We want to make sure that those holes are facing down towards our base pieces when we attach this to the hex bolt. So I'm going to double check that my holes are down towards the base piece, and then I'm going to stick my hex bolt through one of the holes on my short upright. Now it looks like the paint's making it a little bit difficult to get this through, so I'm going to hold my pieces together like this and use my screwdriver handle to screw that hex bolt on. All right, I've got my piece on there, so let's go ahead and pick up another washer and place it onto our hex bolt. And the last step is going to be to pick up a wing nut and secure it onto the hex bolt as well. So we'll pick up our wing nut and we'll go ahead and screw this onto the hex bolt. Once we've got it as tight as we can with our fingers, we're going to go ahead and pinch the wing nut using our finger and our thumb, and we're going to tighten this bolt down using our screwdriver handle. Once you've got it as tight as you can get it, you should be able to move your short upright anywhere you want without it falling out of place. Now that we're done with that, we're ready to attach our arm. So we're going to need our arm right here. Remember, the arm is the rounded over rectangle with one through hole and one pre-drilled hole in the edge. Just like with the short upright, when we attach the arm, we want to make sure that that pre-drilled hole is facing down towards our base pieces. But first, we're going to need to set up another hex bolt with a lock washer and a washer. So let's find our remaining 2-inch hex bolt, and we're going to go ahead and place a lock washer right over the top. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and place our washer. Once you've attached your lock washer and your washer, you can go ahead and place the hex bolt through the remaining through hole on your short upright. So we want all of our hex bolts coming from the same side so that it all looks symmetrical. So I'm going to place it through from this side. And it looks like, just like before, I'm going to need a little bit of help from my screwdriver handle. All right, now that I've got it on there, I can go ahead and place another washer. Once I've got that washer placed, I can go ahead and attach my arm. Remember to double check that that pre-drilled hole on the edge of the arm is facing down towards the base. Looks like I'm going to need a little bit of help from my screwdriver handle again, so let's go ahead and screw this together. All right, now that we've got that all attached, we're going to attach one more washer to this hex bolt. Once you've got the final washer on there, you can go ahead and attach your wing nut to the edge. Once you've got the wing nut as tight as you can with your fingers, go ahead and pinch it with your offhand and tighten it the rest of the way with your screwdriver handle. I'm going to turn it this way so you guys can see a little better. All right, once you've got it as tight as you can, you should be able to adjust your arm to any angle without it falling out of place. So the next step is going to be to attach our screw hooks to the pre-drilled holes on our long upright, our short upright, and our arm. So we're going to go ahead and open up our orange hardware bag, and this is where we're going to find our screw hooks. So let's open up this bag and dump it into our tray. Now we're going to go ahead and screw one hook into each of these pre-drilled holes. So let's go ahead and do that now. The next step of this process is going to be to wire our lamp wire to our plug. So we have our lamp wire here, and here I have my plug. Now the plug has a rubber housing around it. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our flathead screwdriver to remove the plastic part of the plug from the rubber housing. I'm going to stick my flathead screwdriver between the two pieces and kind of start to pry them apart while I pull the plastic plug out from the housing. Once you have the two pieces removed, you'll have your rubber housing that looks like this, and you'll have your plastic plug with your two terminals attached. So I'm going to place the rubber housing off to the side while we talk about the plastic plug. The plastic plug has these two terminals. One of them is a gold terminal with a gold screw at the end, and the other is a silver terminal with a silver screw at the end. Our gold terminal will be positive, and our silver terminal will be neutral. Before we can start wiring this up, we have to place our rubber housing onto the wire. So you're going to pick one side of your lamp wire. It doesn't really matter which side you pick because they're both exactly the same, but I'm going to start with this side. What I'm going to do is I'm going to twist my lamp wires together like this, and I'm going to be placing them up through the bottom of this rubber housing. So the bottom is this side here, and I'm just going to be placing my wires right through and sliding the rubber housing down onto the wire. Once you've done that, you can begin to wire your plug. So again, like I said before, this plug has these two terminals, a gold positive one and a silver neutral one. What we're going to do is we're going to loosen the screws on the end of our terminals so that we can attach our wires. For this, we're going to be using our flathead screwdriver, and we're going to loosen these screws about 3/4 of the way. Be careful not to remove them. You just want to loosen them enough so that you can get the wires on there. So about right there, and then you're going to stop, and we'll move on to our next screw. Remember, we're loosening it about 3/4 of the way. You don't want to remove it. So about right there, and then we're going to stop. Once we've done that, we're going to go ahead and start with our white wire. Our white wire will be our neutral wire, and we're going to be hooking the white neutral wire to the silver neutral terminal. So before we can attach it, let's go ahead and bend a little hook into our wire using our needle nose pliers. To do that, you're going to grab the very tip of the wire with the very tip of your pliers, and you're going to bend it around the pliers to form a little hook just like that. Once you've got your hook in there, you can start to attach it to the terminal. Now on the back of the terminal, there's a little notch right in front of the screw. I'm going to point at it with the screwdriver, so hopefully you guys can see it right there. And what we want to do is we want to hook the wire into that notch to properly secure it to the terminal. So I'm going to be sliding the wire behind the terminal like this. And then I'm going to use my needle nose pliers to pull the wire into that notch before I wrap it around the terminal. So I'm going to pull it down into the notch, and then I'm going to wrap it around the terminal. Once you've got it wrapped around the terminal, you're going to hold it in place with your offhand and go ahead and tighten down that screw until it's as tight as you can get it. Once you've tightened it down as tight as it'll go ahead and give it a little tug to make sure it's secure, and we can move on to wiring up our next terminal. So the next terminal is going to be our gold positive terminal, and we're going to be hooking the black positive wire to the gold positive terminal. So let's go ahead and bend a little hook in our wire just like we did before. And then again, we're going to be placing this wire into the little notch right in front of the terminal. So we're going to slide the wire right behind that notch. And then we're going to use our needle nose pliers to pull the wire into that notch and around the terminal. Once you've got it securely around the terminal, go ahead and tighten down the screw to secure the wire to the terminal. Once you've got that screw as tight as you can get it, give the wire a little tug to make sure it's secure. And the last step is going to be to slide the rubber housing back up over our plug. Once you've got it secure, it should look like this. Now we're ready to move on to the next step, which is going to be wiring the socket to the other side of the wire. Okay, so the next step is going to be to wire the other side of our lamp wire to our on-off socket. So I have my socket here, and remember the socket comes in two pieces. We're going to go ahead and remove this bottom piece, and this is the socket base, and then we have the on-off socket here. So we're actually going to go ahead and remove the plastic part of the socket from this cardboard and metal housing. And we're going to place them down onto our desk. Before we can start wiring that up, we need to attach our strain relief to the lamp wire. So I'm going to move these tools out of my way, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up my strain relief. Now, like I mentioned earlier, the strain relief also has two pieces. We're going to go ahead and unscrew it, and we should have this little cap, which is the strain relief cap, and then we also have this other piece of our strain relief. So we're going to start by attaching the strain relief cap to the lamp wire. We're going to be placing it on so that the narrower side of the strain relief cap fits onto the wire facing down towards our plug. Again, we're going to kind of twist up our wires, and then we're going to slide them through that narrower side of the strain relief cap and just move it down onto your wire. If you need to unwrap your wire a little bit, that's okay. You can go ahead and do that to give yourself more room to work with. Once you've got the cap on there, you're going to go ahead and place the strain relief onto the wire as well. Now you want to be placing the strain relief so that the side with these four little plastic pieces is facing down towards the cap. So we're going to orient it so that those pieces are facing down, and we're going to slide the wire right through the strain relief. Once you've got it on there, go ahead and grab the wires and pull the strain relief down so that you have a few inches of exposed wire to work with. The next step is going to be to wire up our socket. Before we can wire up our socket, we need to attach the socket base to our lamp wire. So the socket base at the very bottom has this little set screw. What we're going to do is we're going to use our Phillips head screwdriver to loosen up that screw. If you look inside the opening here at the bottom, you can see the screw is slightly protruding into that opening. So we need to unscrew it enough so that it's no longer sticking in there. But just like with the terminals on our socket and on our on-off switch, we don't want to loosen them so much that we are going to remove the screw completely. All right, we've got that screw loosened up. So now we're going to go ahead and place this onto the wire with the smaller opening side facing down. Just like we did before, grab the wire and slide that right on down. The next step is going to be to wire our socket onto the wires. So similar to our plug, the socket also has terminals. The terminals on this are going to be little screws. So there's a gold screw that will serve as our positive terminal, and there's a silver screw that will serve as our neutral terminal. Now, just like we did before with the plug, we're going to go ahead and this time we're using our Phillips head screwdriver instead of our flathead, but we're going to use our screwdriver to loosen those screws so that we can get our wires around them. Again, you don't want to loosen it so much that the screw is going to come out, but just enough so that you have room to get the wire around it. Once you've got your two screws loosened up, we're going to go ahead and start to attach our wires. So we're going to be starting with our silver neutral terminal, and we're going to be attaching the white neutral wire to that terminal. Just like we did before, we're going to grab the tip of the wire and bend it into a hook using our needle nose pliers. Once you have your hook, you can go ahead and hook it right onto that terminal. Once you've got it hooked on, go ahead and hold everything in place with your offhand and tighten down that screw until it's as tight as you can get it. Once you've got it as tight as you can, go ahead and give it a little tug to make sure that the wire is not going to come off the terminal. Next, we're going to be wiring our black positive wire to our gold positive terminal. So let's go ahead and bend this wire into a little hook. And this terminal is a little bit harder to get to, but just go ahead and work the wire onto that terminal. Once you've got it hooked on there, go ahead and use your screwdriver to tighten down that screw. Once it's as tight as you can get it, give the wire a little tug to make sure it's not going to come off, and then we can go ahead and replace the socket into this little holder. The holder has a little notch here on the side that the on-off switch is going to fit into. So we'll slide that on just like that, and then we're going to slide the base up to meet the top of the socket. Once you have the two pieces together, you're going to attach them until you hear a click. Once you hear that click, they're securely fastened, and you can go ahead and move your strain relief up and screw it into the bottom of the socket. Once you've got it lined up with the socket, go ahead and begin to screw it in. Once you've got it screwed in, you're going to go ahead and tighten down that set screw using your Phillips head screwdriver. And it looks like my socket's not all the way on, so I'm just going to give it one more push, and you should hear another snap. Now the last step is to attach the strain relief cap to the bottom of the strain relief. We're just going to slide it up and twist it on into place. All right, beautiful. We have our socket wired all the way down to our plug. And now we're ready to attach this to our lamp, plug in our light bulb, and make sure everything works. For this next step, we're going to be attaching our lamp wire to the screw hooks on our lamp frame. So let's go ahead and start by attaching the socket here on this first hook on the arm. We're then going to work our way down the hooks, attaching the lamp wire as we go. Once you've got it attached to all of the hooks, you should have plenty of wire hanging off the back. And then we're going to go ahead and open up our light bulb and screw it in. So you want to be careful with this. The light bulb is made of glass and is a little bit fragile. So let's go ahead and remove it from the foam and screw it in. Once we've got it screwed in, we can go ahead and plug in our plug in our wire, flip the switch, and the light bulb should turn on. All right, we've got it plugged in, so let's turn it on. Beautiful, and now we have a great desk lamp we can use. You could use it as a night light, you could use it at night to read with, as a desk lamp maybe when you're doing your homework, or however you'd like to use it. But anyway, I'm really glad you guys stopped by to build this with me today at Elemental Hardware Enrichment. My name is Aiden, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on the next one.